So you just put it in your blog there, Josh?
Yeah. Yeah, I heard a really
very
good
clear
one.
Today. I think it's my internet's really good, but man, that's a really clear picture of you. Hey guys, so if you're just watching us, this is the exciting pre-show of Hockey.
Are we going to talk Toronto?
You okay?
Yeah. Are we going to talk Toronto and Anaheim today, or are we going to resume the team reviews?
I think no, people are going to have to put that off until after this because it's honestly, I mean, I wanted to talk to them fairly, and we have so much going on, so we'll see. If we have space and time, we'll do it. But I think for the most part, we're not going to talk Toronto. I know a couple people have been upset about that. Gotten a couple tweets about it.
I don't know if you can hear me, but your microphone is cutting out on me.
Is it cutting out on me too, Josh? Are you getting that too?
No, it's not cutting out on me. You sound fine.
Something with you then.
I got to make sure I'm off by 3 because I having toe surgery at 3:15.
Good God.
The dreaded toe conversation again.
That's terrible, Josh.
Yeah, your microphone or the sound cut out on me for about. The sound cut on me for about 20 seconds right there.
It's not doing it to Josh though. So.
Oh. Okay.
So I don't know if that was something weird, but it's working now, Mike. You can hear me fine now.
I can hear you now, but it keeps dropping in and out. So I'm going to try to see if the headphones will work. Let me just see.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a shirt I haven't been able to wear.
Just give me a sec.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's good
Thank
stuff.
you. Feeling good.
Pounds?
45 pounds. 46, actually. I lost another one.
That's unbelievably impressive. I'm really jealous.
Whatever.
No, seriously. That's an accomplishment. It's not.
Yeah.
I haven't gone up and down and lost weight and gained weight. I totally think that's huge.
I tell you what, that squash was unbelievable. Even though I was in so much pain yesterday.
Yeah.
It really gets your metabolism going.
Okay, let me see if I can get this. Okay.
Yeah, time to shave. I could see my shiny bald spot. Oh, God.
Oh, man, you're funny. You're okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start in just a few minutes here. We're just getting everything set up, and I think we're going to be good to go.
Did you see Rich Curran's comment yesterday?
Yeah, we saw it.
Yeah. You know who he was referring. You know who he was referring to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Kipper?
Oh, okay.
Ed K.
Yeah. And who?
No, and Nick Kipper.
Oh, NK. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't very nice.
No, that was ridiculous, actually. I mean, I
sounds good right now. So
how would Curran know?
I guess.
It's another one of those things that every year someone, either a general manager says this guy's not getting traded, and he ends up getting traded. Like, that's like usually the kiss of death.
I know. I want to talk about this because I honestly do want to discuss this one because honestly, it's a ridiculous thing for Curran to do. It comes out really, really small.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And the other thing, if Kane and Tays are going to be making $12 million a year, like Bob McKenzie said earlier this morning, like they gotta move someone.
Exactly.
And it's not going to be Duncan Keith, and it's not going to be Brent Seabrook.
Exactly. It's not going to be that.
And no one wants Nick Leddy as hard as they've tried to trade him.
I know. All right, let's start this thing.
And they're not going to buy out Marian Hossa.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not happening either.
No.
Do you want just a set of headphones, Mike? Are you okay? Are you good? Can you hear me?
Is there a delay?
There's really some kind of weird delay going on with Mike and I, isn't there?
I think so.
Keeps cutting out. I don't understand. The sound keeps cutting out. Really weird.
It's only the sound. I wonder if it's because we're on the same network or something.
I'm going to sign off and sign back in. Maybe that'll do it. Just give me a minute.
Because you can tell you're not responding to me like a normal folk would when I speak. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hate that. Like, I don't know. When agents go after reporters, and then the quote, which is really, Mike, you should read that quote when you.
Mm-hmm.
So can you hear us now, Mike? You back?
Yeah, so far so good. But
so far so good.
For some reason, it just keeps cutting out.
Okay. Well, let me know if it does still. I mean, we'll try to figure out a way around it.
It just did.
It just did? Okay. All right. Well, hold on. Do me a favor. Log off your computer, okay, and go into the other Netgear one. There's 2 Netgear ones.
Wow. Blast from the past, Mike.
Why?
John Shannon just tweeted confirming that Pittsburgh has received permission to talk with Travis Green about joining Mike Johnston's staff.
Yeah. They mentioned that yesterday.
Oh.
I mean, no. I mean, just Doug McClain mentioned that he would want Travis Green.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a weird delay with you, Mike. That's what's going on. Okay, so, all right, let me, we're going to log you off. Log off again. I'm coming upstairs for a second, and we're going to get this, I'll put you into another. Okay. It'll just take a second. Josh, entertain the crowd.
Oh, that's right. We're live. I'm going to start juggling, guys. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. I have no idea how to entertain everybody. Probably won't be any trades today since the Board of Governors meetings is today in Manhattan, New York. Would not be surprised, though, if trades start happening as early as tomorrow morning, maybe even late tonight. Lots of teams, obviously, trying to jockey for position in the draft this year. A lot of people want Ekblad, the clear-cut #1 pick in this year's draft. Florida Panthers have spoke apparently with Toronto, Philadelphia, the Edmonton Oilers. Those are the 3 I know. 3 I know about. I was just telling everybody that the Florida Panthers, from what I've been told, have spoke with 3 teams regarding trading the first overall pick: the Flyers, the Oilers, and the Leafs. I'm sure there's other teams involved as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Third time's the charm, maybe?
Is it working okay now, Mike?
So far.
Okay. All right, good. We're gonna go with it. We're gonna say it works.
Okay.
1 day until the draft. Changing my thing to 1 day until the draft.
Oh, I gotta put my thing up.
Okay. And suddenly I can. All right, that's weird. All right, okay. All right. I'm feeling good. Everybody ready?
Yep.
Let's start with the Toronto. Let's start with what you were just talking about, Josh.
Yeah.
Things on that first pick too.
Yeah, and I have the Dion Phaneuf rumor du jour.
All right, let's do that. All right, it's the 25th, right?
26th.
26th.
Of course, it's the 26th. I did once I would just guess right, you know. All right, here we go. Hello, hockey world. It is Thursday, the 26th of the late summer month of June, early summer. It's Thursday, June 26th, 2014.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Josh Rimmer.
I'm Eklund. You're watching the HockeybuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com, coming to you live from Well, my house, and Mike's in another room in my house.
I'm not in your house.
Yeah, but Josh is not in my house. But Mike and I refused to be on camera in the same place, and I refused to give up my beautiful set down here, and to give anyone else. No one else can ever sit in this chair, Mike. You'll one day perhaps be able to sit in this chair, but not now.
The assumptor of the throne. Thank you. Yes.
You saw this. You saw it though. You were kind of freaked out by it. You said it was pretty funny to see it live, right?
It is. It's weird.
It's smaller than it looks, right? Or is it bigger than it looks? Or what do you think?
It's different. I can't say
it's
smaller or bigger. It's just different.
It's very funny. Like when I show people it, because a lot of my family was watching the podcast, the same thing. They come over and they're like, "Where do you do that? Where do you record that?" And they bring them down to the place where I record it, and they're like, "Wow, it doesn't look anything like you I thought it would look." So anyway, here we are, the eve of the draft. Mike's in Philadelphia. Rumors galore flying all over the place. Josh is coming up with all kinds of crazy ass things. It's time. It's time, Josh, for. Let's start right off the bat with a little draft rumor, because we have a lot of people talking about the first overall pick, which is basically the Ekblad sweepstakes, I guess. At this point, that seems to be where everybody's headed. Josh, what are you hearing on this pick? And then I'll give you what I'm hearing, and then Mike, we can all discuss this. Josh, what do you have?
Well, my latest rumors blog is up on Hockey Buzz, and in that article, don't want to spoil it for everybody, but I'm going to do that anyway.
You're allowed to. It's the same network.
So the Florida Panthers, from what I've been told, have been talking to three teams: the Edmonton Oilers, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. But the latest rumor I've heard is that the Toronto Maple Leafs would trade Dion Phaneuf and the number 8 pick to Edmonton for the number 3 pick. There could be another player in there as well. So Toronto would acquire the 3rd overall pick and then would take the 3rd overall pick and trade it to the Panthers for the 1st overall pick. Obviously, there'd be a player involved in there as well. The player that came up, I don't know, is Jake Gardiner, is the name that came up to me. So would the Leafs actually deal Phaneuf and Gardiner for the number 1 to draft Ekblad? I don't know if they would deal Gardiner, but I know that they are apparently talking about doing something like this. Could it be another player? It's possible. Maybe the rights to Cody Franzen. I don't know, but that's the latest rumor I'm hearing, guys, is that the Leafs would make the trade with Edmonton, grab that pick, and then send it over to Florida because they really want Ekblad bad.
Before we get Mike's opinion, and I'm sure he has an opinion on this, I will just state this. This is the first rumor that to me makes a little bit of sense. Like, I do think that it takes Phaneuf and Gardiner to get this done. And that is a lot. But when you're talking about a trade for the 1st overall pick, and you're talking about a team that has to sell the fact that they're trading their 1st overall pick. So this is that's my thought on it. Mike?
Not a chance in hell. Let's just say this. I mean, the first part of the deal I think is realistic and reasonable. I have a feeling that if the Leafs trade the number 8 pick and Dion Phaneuf, that it would just not be the number 3 pick, but maybe a guy like Sam Gagner, because the Edmonton probably will want to shed themselves of some salary, taking out Phaneuf's $7 million contract for the next 7 years. Turning around, if Gagner was included in the deal to go to Florida for the number 1 pick, or maybe, I know that Leaf fans will have a conniption if I say this name, Nazem Kadri, fine. But you're including Gardiner in the deal. I mean, then all the benefits of bringing in Ekblad are gone because you've taken away 2 defensemen,
okay,
Gardiner and Phaneuf. You're adding one 18-year-old kid who, probably is ready for the NHL, but probably is going to be dependent on for 20-plus minutes a night. It doesn't make any sense. It's a massive step backwards for the Leafs, and I don't think that they're in a position to really do that. So I would think the first part makes sense. The second part doesn't make sense.
Well, let's think about this for a second. Now, I mean, okay, Phaneuf is an aging player who, at this point, he's not going to serve really Toronto's purposes, right? So he's not really where they want to be. Gardiner is young, a good young player who's had ups and downs with Maple Leafs for sure, to say the least, right? I mean, and he's had his moments where he's been very good, moments where he's not been very good. Ekblad is a stud defenseman who is, what, 19 years old, right? 18, 19 years old.
18, and he's a right-hand shot.
Right. And a right-handed shot. You're talking about, so now would you trade Dion Phaneuf and Gardner for Shea Weber?
Yeah, but that's Shea Weber.
But we don't know that. That's the thing. I mean,
Right.
We don't know. I mean, or how about for Seth Jones?
No.
Yeah, you see, I mean, I would. I mean, I would definitely do. You want whoever gets the. I'm a big proponent of the old Mike Keenan theory of whoever gets the best player in the deal wins the deal, and the Leafs would get the best player in that deal. But in
this instance, it's not for sure that the Leafs are taking into consideration this is the case that this would actually happen. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee that the best player in this deal is Aaron Ekblad. It could very well be Dion Phaneuf. And it could very well be Jake Gardner.
It's not Dion.
I mean, you don't know. He's an unknown commodity. He's 18 years old. He's been scouted. He's been vetted. He's a big kid. He's probably gonna be a very good NHL defenseman. But there's no way of knowing whether he's gonna be a superstar or not. And if he's a superstar, then you do this. But I don't know if he's a superstar.
You know that Dion Phaneuf is past his prime in my mind. And it never really has completely turned into what he should have been. I mean, and has been a good player, but Jake Gardner's not going to be a superstar. He's going to be a good, serviceable top four defenseman, but he's not going to be a superstar. So,
and him and Carlisle had their battles the last little while.
Oh, for sure, and that's another big issue, right? So, if you're a Carlisle supporter, you also have to think about that too. So, Josh, whose side are you on here, Mike's or mine?
I honestly, I'm on your side, Ek. Sorry, Mike. I mean, I think there's more to the deal. If the Leafs are moving Gardner and the third overall pick, which they got from Edmonton and the Florida Panthers, something else is coming back. What is that? I don't know. Maybe a prospect with the Florida Panthers organization, perhaps. I don't know. I mean,
if it's Dmitry Kulikov or something like that, then okay. Yeah. I mean, then that's different. I mean, he's a former first-round pick. He's the same age as Gardner. That makes sense. But
what about also they also have Dylan Olsen as well, guys.
Yeah, but if it's Eric Branson or something like that, but I don't see that happening. I mean, then again, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of Florida doing that deal? They're giving up the number one pick and one of their better young defensemen for a lower pick and one of Toronto's young defensemen. It doesn't seem to improve them a lot. So again, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I see your side of the argument as well.
The point is that you're getting potentially Shea Weber or potentially, and that's the point is like that's what the draft's all about. And that if we look at what this, you're getting the kind of player you can never get any other way. Like the only way you can get a guy like a Shea Weber is by drafting him, right? So this is your only chance.
Yeah, but Shea Weber was a second-round pick. Thing is, first-round pick defenseman. Chris Phillips,
Chris Pronger. I mean, there's other. I mean, there's.
Yeah, it wasn't a first overall pick. Roman.
Not a first overall pick, but it could have been. I mean, some people had him for. It was
Eric Johnson.
Eric Johnson. I mean.
Oh yeah, I know. There's no question about that. But I also think that. I think that it's just a deal that you can't not. If you're made that offer, you can't not regret that at some point and say, man, you're just gonna be. That's just.
Well,
I take that shot.
I can't remember who last week said there was I think actually may have been Elliot Friedman from Hockey in Canada who had said that the talk out there was Gardner, Kadri, and the number 8 to Florida for the number 1, and I think that they would be preparing a padded cell in a Toronto mental hospital for Dave Nonis if that deal was made. So, I mean, this is, instead of giving up Kadri, it's giving up Phaneuf. I don't see much difference. But
well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's all opinions, but I think that it obviously, and that's not me guessing, it's all opinions. It is all opinions. But I think at the end of the day, I still want to actually have a potential superstar. I don't know. That's just me, but we'll see. We got a long way to go on this one. And I'm sure now what I've heard beyond this about the first overall pick. I've also heard Vancouver's name mentioned, and I know this hasn't really been talked about too much yet, but I have heard Kessler tied to Florida, and the first round pick being tied to this. It would be more than just Kessler for the first overall pick, but I have heard this connected together. And like Florida's talking to Ottawa about Spezza, they're talking about Kessler with Vancouver, and so. All that being said, I'm with Kevin Allen last week. He came on the show and said that he doesn't think the owner will let Florida make this trade this first overall pick. But Talon sure is enjoying finding out what's available for it, and we sure get a lot of interesting intrigue from it.
Mm-hmm.
Josh?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I have a little bit of news here, guys.
Josh, we can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Mike?
That's weird.
I can hear him.
I can't hear you guys. What's going on there? Sorry.
Okay.
I can hear
me. Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
I have a little bit of news here, guys.
Right.
Number one, let me start with, if you've gone to the NHL.com page, you'll notice that the Phoenix Coyotes have now moved to at the beginning of the teams in alphabetical order, as they become the Arizona Coyotes starting tomorrow at the entry draft. That's interesting. And then
I like it. I know it's not that exciting, Mike, but I like it. I do. Because it keeps getting them away from Philadelphia in alphabetical order, so I like that. Go ahead, Josh.
There you go. Two other things. Number one, the LA Kings have announced they are not re-signing Willie Mitchell. A lot of people have the shocked face. No, not really. Andrei Markov got a full no-trade clause for this coming season. It's a modified no-trade clause in the final two seasons.
Just for this
Yes,
season?
Just for this season. It's a modified no-trade clause the final two seasons. And Ron Hainsey's deal includes a modified no-trade clause as well.
Oh, well, good stuff.
And a little other news, Chad LaRose, and this is also in my Rumors blog, Chad LaRose took last year off. He's not a big-time goal scorer, but he's a role player. He's a good third-liner, fourth-liner. He can net you 20 goals. He took last year off. He's making a comeback. He spent all summer long skating. He changed agents. I could see Chad LaRose ending up as a Detroit Red Wing this coming season.
Wow, I've always liked Chad LaRose. I was surprised last year when he took off, and you were never sure quite why that is, but I was surprised that he took off, and I'm glad he's coming back. I always liked him in Carolina. He's a good guy.
with Pittsburgh's desire and need to bolster their bottom six, and Jim Rutherford, the former Carolina GM in Pittsburgh, maybe LaRose has a chance with the Penguins as well. So I mean, I'm not disputing the possibility of him going to Detroit, but Pittsburgh might find a cheap alternative there as a bottom six forward in Chad LaRose.
I'll tell you something else I've got going on. I've heard that there have been discussions with the San Jose Sharks and the Ottawa Senators involving Jason Spezza. That this is kind of rising quickly today, and from the sources I've talked to, as a real distinct possibility in the Spezza trade. Josh, you're laughing. Go ahead.
I'm laughing because if you look at my blog, I also put up a possible Patrick Marleau for Jason Spezza deal.
Wow, because I put up, if you look at my blog, Josh, I have a possible Joe Thornton for Jason Spezza deal.
Really?
So yeah, is what I heard.
I feel a bet coming on here.
Yes.
Ooh, cookies involved?
Perhaps. No, you're losing all that weight, man. You're making me feel bad. I'm not going to bet cookies anymore.
I'll give them to my kids.
Yeah, there you go. I know. So but I do think these teams are. I've heard these teams are talking. That's obviously you've heard it too. It's pretty much, and it's rising fast. It's one of these things that's I think by tonight everyone's gonna be talking about the Sharks and Spezza being linked together. It's one of those things. It's really going fast, and it is a matter of, okay, we have. This is a team that can take on Spezza if Ottawa's willing to take on Thornton or Marleau, I guess, as we're looking at it. I've heard Thornton is the guy. I still hear Marleau in Tampa going. I still hear that's where they're trying to move him to.
Even after they sign Callahan?
Yep. Even now, even after that, which is is an excellent point, of course. But I definitely have heard that. Remember, they've got some other guys they're not going to bring back. They bought out Ryan Malone.
Yeah.
And well, I hope I really hope Ryan Malone gets back into hockey. I like Ryan Malone. I know what happened to him is very unfortunate, and could have happened to quite a few hockey players that I know in the NHL.
It has happened to hockey players.
Yeah, and it's been hidden a lot too. I mean, what's amazing is how many guys get caught, but because they're hockey players, nothing ever happens. But that's either here or there.
Mm.
But Ryan Malone's a good guy. He really is, and he's a really he's a quality person, individual, and I know he would love to go back to Pittsburgh, in the worst way. So whether or not the Penguins would go that route, I don't know, but I know that's where he wants to play. So, but Tampa does have time. I also heard Dustin Byfuglien's name mentioned a lot today. I was down at the rink earlier. They have the place, all the decorations for the draft are orange and black, which is kind of cool. I was down there and talking to some folks this morning, and there's we have Dustin Byfuglien's name coming up a lot, and I really think the Flyers are going to be making a big push for him. I think that's where he's going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened tomorrow. The thing about Dustin Byfuglien is he does not want to play forward, and people always put him as a forward.
Yeah,
doesn't want to play forward. He wants to play defense. The Flyers want him as a defender. The Flyers have also had discussions with Boyle, with Dan Boyle, but I think that's more just exploratory than anything else. I don't see that Dan Boyle is going to be going to the Flyers.
Well,
Dustin Byfuglien, really wouldn't be surprised. Mike?
Pierre LeBrun reported yesterday that the three teams that were expressing serious and significant interest in Boyle were the Rangers, Maple Leafs, and Detroit Red Wings.
Okay.
Could be possible that the Flyers are just putting their interest in there to raise the price a little bit on three Eastern Conference teams,
Especially the Rangers.
Especially the Rangers, exactly.
The Rangers are involved. The Flyers are involved. We've seen this before plenty of times. Yeah, that's how they work. That was with truth. That was the case with Kessler last year at the trade deadline. The Flyers had no interest in him, but they were continuing to check out because they didn't want him to end up in New York. So, yeah, that could be. I think I wouldn't. I don't disagree with LeBron's assessment on that one at all. Also, Paul Stastny. Now, the Blues have always liked Paul Stastny. I've heard nothing but great things about Stastny from people around St. Louis, in and around St. Louis. Isn't he from near there?
I think he was born when his dad was playing in St. Louis after he got traded from Quebec.
Right. Josh?
I think.
In my latest blog, I talk about Paul Stastny ending up in St. Louis or Nashville. And I say he loves St. Louis because that's where he grew up. He was born actually in Quebec City, but was in St. Louis when his dad was playing with the Blues and loves the city. Apparently spends a lot of time there in the off season. So I've heard St. Louis, Nashville. The reason Nashville I threw out there, obviously, is the USA connection with David Poile and Peter Laviolette.
Yeah.
Those are the two teams I'm hearing for Stastny.
So, Josh, I just want to point out that my blog...
Are we feeling each other today or something?
No, I wanted to point out that my blog was posted at 1:47 p.m., and yours was posted at 1:58 p.m., so you stole it all from me. I just want to let you know that I feel that way, because that's how the Internet works. The Internet could only... There's no way you could possibly be talking to other people and getting the same information. You obviously stole it directly from my blog, Josh, and I am completely upset at this. So, just to let you know...
Actually, I haven't read your blog today.
I'm going to read
it right now.
You better check. Well, you're fully responsible for plagiarizing and...
Do you have my Chad LaRose on your blog, Ek? I'm looking right now.
No, let me put it on there now.
Another factor that can't be underestimated regarding Stastny in St. Louis is the fact that you have Backus, you have Oshie, and you have Shattenkirk, who are all members of Team USA who are on the Blues. I'm sure that helps a little bit to have three players that he knows, that he played with, as recently as earlier this year in Sochi, as an attractive prospect. But I still think that in the end, and he said that he would give Colorado the last crack at re-signing him, that I still think he's going back to Colorado.
Yeah, you think so? I mean, I wrote that in my blog actually, Mike, that I still think he's going back to Colorado. So yeah. But yeah.
I know I got it from somewhere.
I know. Again, plagiarism. But yeah, there's no way could we have this similar. And I bring this up off later for a point I'm going to make later. But there's no way could we have similar thoughts or have actually put the same two players together without having discussed it or cheating off of each other. So yeah,
plagiarism worked for Joe Biden. So just
absolutely. And I got in trouble once. I will admit it. I got in trouble. I was in a cheating ring in 7th grade QPS, and where we all were cheating off the answers, and I was except to tell you how bad of a cheater I am. Every time someone calls me a fraud, I always bring this up because it's the funniest thing. I'd say and my wife just laughs because she went to elementary school and junior high with me, and she knows this is true. I'm really bad at lying and really bad at cheating on things. And to tell you how bad I am at it. I swear to you, that was the one time I cheated because it was like this ridiculous chemistry thing that I just did not understand, and I was too busy playing hockey and hanging out. And I not only cheated, but I handed in my homework stapled to the homework I cheated on. So yes, just that's how good I am at cheating. It was like the teacher just couldn't say anything. The teacher's like, okay, I think you might have cheated off this paper that you stapled to your paper that has the same results on it. I'm like, oh, yeah, possibly. Anyway, Josh, go on.
Oh, I also have the Patrick Sharp stuff in my rumors. And
yeah, well, let's talk about that.
And the PK Subban stuff.
Okay, well, you're ahead of me because I don't have either of those.
Okay, there you go.
I have the Bufflin stuff, and I've got the Kessler stuff.
I'm going to click on your blog every hour and see if you added it.
You better. Just as a paid Hockey Buzz employee, Josh, you owe it to yourself to check on my blog every 5 seconds.
I will.
Yeah, sure. Actually, the thing that you should never do is look at my blog, and I will tell you that right now because you're doing a hell of a job, and you should. And I would I'd rather you just go out and get your things. I'll go out and get my things. And, and when they actually work like this, it's like we know that we're actually there might be something more to it because we're
on to something.
And I'll just comment on everything.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hopefully our sources aren't the same people.
They very well might be. I mean, it's totally possible. Although, if that is the case, those people are idiots because they would be like, just talk because they all know that we work together. So, anyway, I don't think they're the same people. Although sometimes I'm sure you've had this happen where your source calls you up and says, oh, you can go with this now, and you look and it's been tweeted out by like Bob McKenzie at the exact same time. And you're like, okay, that source is definitely the same person because that's exactly the way he told it to me. Yeah. And that happens a lot. So anyway,
I was told yesterday, early in the morning, hey, Mike Johnson's the new coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and as I'm tweeting it, there's like 8 tweets that come out from TSN and Sportsnet. Mike Johnson's new coach.
Yeah, that's the case. That's how it works, right? I know.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Mike, I just want to say real quickly, we put Mike into a room with only a light switch behind him, as you see.
Is it a padded room?
Yeah, my house is really. This is basically the decorations of my house. This is probably the only non-cluttered view you could take of my house. Is Mike up against this wall? Anyway, so as Mike knows, we just watched the end of the U.S. soccer game, and oh my gosh, that was something else. All right, so let's talk about Patrick Sharp, and let's talk about the Mike. Could you bring up that article you were reading to me earlier, to the one with with the agent with the current?
Yeah.
I would like to comment on that a little bit as we go here. Okay. So, Josh, give me your thoughts on this.
Well, I was driving out and about yesterday, and we all know and heard the rumors that Patrick Sharp would probably be traded out of Chicago, especially after hearing this morning from Bob McKenzie that both Kane and Taves will make in the neighborhood of $12 million per year. You got to think that they have to move a big contract out. As you said earlier, they're not going to buy out Marian Hossa. They're not going to trade Seabrook. They're not going to trade Keith. They can't trade Leddy because no one wants them. And you know what? They're pretty much. I mean, they're not going to trade Crawford, so they need to move someone. And with Patrick Sharp, rumor came out maybe a month ago or a few weeks ago that Sharp would possibly be traded, and his agent came out yesterday and said, "Do you have the quote there?"
Yeah, let's go to Mike. Mike, let read exactly what happened because this is an interesting one now. It should be noted here that Nick Kyprios, who I know you work with at Sportsnet,
Yep, and a
Josh.
good guy,
He's a
super
good
guy.
And he's always been nice to me, so I have nothing bad to say about him at all. Wrote an article, reported on this rumor like we had all heard, and so when Rick Curran is responding to Nick Kyprios's quotes here, or his I guess
Report.
assumption or rumor that Patrick Sharp could be moved. So go ahead, Mike.
Okay, from Mark Lazarus, reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times, quoting Rick Curran, "There's no truth to any rumor that Patrick Sharp is available to trade," Curran told the Sun-Times. "He absolutely is not available. I had a meeting with Stan Bowman a week ago to ask him what was going to happen. He said, 'I don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you that Patrick Sharp is not available right now.' When the Sportsnet guy Nick Kyprios erroneously made a statement and everyone went crazy, I called Stan again. I asked, 'Has anything changed?'"
Okay, wait, I want to stop you for a second. Sorry, my phone went crazy there and I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. So let's go back to what he said. In the quote, he says, first of all, he's saying he's not available. There's no way he's available. I talked to Stan Bowman last week, and he told me that he doesn't know what's going to happen in the future, right? But he knows that Patrick Sharp is not available right now. All right, so I want to throw out the first thing that,
I'll be right back, guys.
Okay, go ahead, Josh. The use of the words "right now."
Yeah.
Now Rick Curran is a lawyer. I'm sure he's going to write some. Hopefully we'll have some quote for Nick Lazarus about me, but whatever. And as most agents are, they're lawyers and they're smart people, and we've talked many times about general managers, and when I deal with general managers, one of my rumor secrets is you must know the GM that you're talking to, and some GMs have an absolute, they use things like right now or at this point or as of this time often, and they use it for good reason, right? They use it because they don't know what's going to happen next, and they don't know if they're going to have to trade Patrick Sharp. So yeah, unless we don't have Jason Spezza, so yeah, Patrick Sharp's not available right now. If we have Jason Spezza, Patrick Sharp's available. But that's not being said, because you never say that part of it. You just say the other part, right? Which is that we don't have him, so he's not available right now.
Right.
And the fact that Curran uses now when quoting Stan Bowman uses the term right now, again, Bowman is also admitting. I mean, in the beginning of the phrase, he says a bunch of things. He says, he's no ways to be tradable, not tradable, not at all. And those are direct stances. But when he says, because Bowman told me he's not available right now, that use of right now makes this whole thing moot. Because even if he talked to Bowman yesterday,
right,
or last hour,
mm-hmm.
There's no Patrick Sharp's not available right now. Okay, he's not, because right now they don't need to trade him for any reason, and so why would they? He's a great player.
Right.
But if something else opens up and they have to trade Patrick Sharp, then he will be available right then. But he's not going to be available right. He's not available right now because they're not shopping Patrick Sharp. That's all that Stan Bowman's saying by saying he's not available right now. So Rick Curran knows this. Rick Curran knows that when Bowman says he's not available right now, he's simply saying we're not shopping him. That doesn't mean that when the moment comes that we suddenly need to clear up cap space, that Patrick Sharp won't be available then.
Right.
And Curran says this very clearly, so continue on to what he continues to say, because he goes after Kyprios then.
Yeah, let's see here.
I apologize about I had to leave there, guys. I had a Jehovah's Witness at the door, but go ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you invite them in next time, Josh? Let them sit in. I always invite the Jehovah's Witnesses in and try to convert them to my religion.
No.
Anyway, go ahead, Mike. Continue.
When the Sportsnet guy, Nick Kyprios, erroneously made a statement and everyone went crazy, I called Stan Bowman again. I asked, "Has anything changed?" He said, "Absolutely not. He's full of bleep."
Oh, man. Full of bleep. Man.
Well, full of expletive, but I think
you can get rid of bleep if you eat prunes a couple times a day, and so he's full of bleep.
Yes.
Now this is totally ridiculous by Rick Curran to go after Nick Kyprios here. This is absolutely absurd for many reasons. First of all, no one was going crazy. He says, well, everyone went crazy about Patrick Sharp being available. Yeah, it was not like something that we were. It was surprising. I mean, he's a Team Canada player, but he's also maybe slowing down a little bit or so and so. It's fine. We're
Well,
all okay with Patrick Sharp. So but it makes sense that they don't that their second line center is Michael Handzus, who's leaving. So we know that they have to go out and get a center, and unless they're going to suddenly buy out Hossa, they don't have money to do this. So yeah, all right. So no one's going crazy. Secondly, whenever an agent becomes defensive publicly, the whole internet world, as we know it, thinks that they're lying. So Rick Curran, like you can't. The way the internet works, there's a country of the internet. I always say this. There's a language of this land that we live on the online, and defensiveness is lying in that land. Like if you visit that land and you're defensive about anything, even if you're absolutely 100% right, if you're defensive, you're a liar in this country. One day I'm going to write a movie called like The Country of the Internet, where people actually act like they do online in the real world, because they don't. But sometimes you can be the ugly American of the internet and say things like this, and then now people are going to assume now that why would Rick Curran get into a mudslinging contest with Nick Kypreos?
Well, it didn't end there. I mean, if it would have ended there, then that would be enough. But the last part of his quote is where I think he goes off the rails. I mean, he says Bowman.
He's further off the rails, Mike. But yes,
we're further off the rails. Bowman said he's the last guy that would be traded in reference to Sharp, which I think is a joke with a team that Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves. But that being said, whatever. Continuing the quote, as far as I'm concerned, the whole thing's a fabrication from a puke out of Toronto trying to make headlines. An absolutely, completely irresponsible report based on absolutely nothing other than his own whim or fancy. That's going to earn some friends.
Oh, my gosh. Well, there's two other things here that Rick Curran is not mentioning. One is you can't trust the Chicago Blackhawks as far as you can throw them, and I'm going to just tell you that right now. Of all the teams in the NHL, and people are afraid to say this, and Kipper's not going to say this. I'm going to say this because I'll be flat out and honest that I've caught the Blackhawks in things, and you can't trust them. They are. I mean, there are some people there that I like, but there are some stories that I could tell that I won't tell about how certain people have been fired from that organization, about what happened after their first Stanley Cup, and how people were promised things and all sorts of things. And this is an organization that, I'm not going to take their word as gospel. So, and where Kypreos, sure, he's a hockey writer, and he's going to report rumors like we all do, and some of them aren't going to happen, and some of them are going to be wrong. And, most of them aren't going to happen, and most of them are going to be wrong, but that's the way this business works. But he's still gotten things right, and he's still on Sportsnet, and this is a really ridiculous fight to get in. This is too Alan Walsh of him, put it that way. I mean, Rick Curran knows better than this. That's my opinion. Now, Josh, since you're with Sportsnet, I don't want to get you involved in this, but I'm just telling you that's my thoughts here on this thing. And I thought that Kipper deserves some defense here, because it's just.
I agree.
It's not cool, and there's nothing to be gained from this. And there's a reason that we don't see this happen more often with agents and teams going after people like me or Kipper or Drager or McKenzie. There's a reason that doesn't happen, because they don't look good doing it. And it really doesn't serve their purposes that they think it serves. And
well, I can say I'm proud to say that Alan Walsh has blocked me on Twitter, and I never said anything bad about Alan Walsh. He just doesn't.
That's the problem, Mike. Because I have not said anything bad about Alan Walsh either. But I could tell you a story that would make everybody hate Alan Walsh, but I will never tell it. And it's a story I've hid to myself, and he knows that I know this story, and because of that, he retroactively blocked me. When he went on Twitter and I tried to follow him, it was only on Twitter for like a couple hours. I went to follow him, and I was already blocked. So there you go. That's sort of a rite of passage, Mike. So don't worry about that at all. Josh?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I got a little bit more news here, guys. Again, probably this not that surprising as well. John Shannon tweeting out, only way Jerome McGinley stays in Boston is if Bruins move some bodies. Is it worth to move players like Boychuk and Campbell to keep Iggy?
Well, yeah, or Louis Eriksson, like we talked about yesterday, and that was it's not worth it to keep Iggy as much as. Well, it depends who you're talking about. Boychuk and Campbell, maybe. I mean, he was very good for the Bruins. He really fit in well with that team. And Josh, what do you think?
Well, I actually heard an interesting rumor this week. Didn't think much of it. Didn't right about it. Probably should have. That maybe Jerome ends up back in Alberta, but this time with the Edmonton Oilers. Although that might be a kick in the face to some people in the
I don't think he could do
Flames
that. I
fans.
don't see him as the kind of guy.
Because he was born in Edmonton, guys.
I
That's
know,
where
but
his dad
still.
lives.
There's a reason that like Forsberg would never like the Detroit offered the secret of Forsberg signing with the Flyers is Detroit offered more money than the Flyers did when Forsberg signed with the Flyers, but he said he could never go back. He could never go play for Detroit. It was just something he just didn't feel it was fair to the fans, and I always respected Peter for that, and I don't think Iginla would be any different. So, although I have heard the Capitals' interest in Iginla, so he's going to find a home. And the Caps, like we talked about, I think I mentioned that yesterday in the podcast, and I think that's something that Barry Trotz likes those kind of players around. You know, like remember when he was starting off there, they had Jason Arnott in Nashville, and he likes the kind of players that that younger players look up to. So I could see that happening.
Well,
but, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
The interesting thing is that you can already see some of the machinations of Peter Chiarelli regarding their situation with the cap. Chad Johnson, who was the backup to Tuukka Rask, did a pretty good job playing. I think he played around 20 games, had a pretty good goals against, did well as a backup. They're letting him walk. He's a UFA. They're letting him walk, and they're going to go with Nicholas Svedberg, who is their goaltender in Providence, and they signed him to a one-year deal for like $600,000. So, they're going the cheap way for the backup, and they're a good enough defensive team that maybe the Svedberg is far enough along that he can just come in and fill the backup role. But they had somebody who they knew could play the backup role and probably would have wanted $1.5 million, and they can't afford that with their cap situation.
Yeah, they're in a bind. I mean, and as the year goes on, they could actually do something about that. But there will be lots of goalies, and I'll go to you in a second, Josh. There will be lots of goalies who this will be the year of the goalie walk-on tryouts, in my prediction. It's like, you'll have goalies coming in to basically, got offered a tryout basically with teams, and the Bruins look for the Bruins to have somebody like that, come on board, somebody who doesn't get a deal but who thinks they can still play, and that might be a better option than bringing up this kid right now, who they really probably should keep in Providence so he plays more games than he would in the NHL. To keep him going, Josh.
Yeah, guys, I just got a text from one of my sources telling me that look for Kessler to be traded before the draft, and that a deal was close.
Yeah,
that's what I just got text.
That could be Florida. Because I heard this morning that there was a possibility that was getting closer. Now, Kessler, what do you want to talk about? I'm glad we brought him up because sometimes those things, when you get a text like that, it can mean a couple things. It can mean like, okay, yeah, it is really close, or it could mean Florida, or it means Vancouver wants another team they're talking with to think a deal is really close. Two. The problem with this situation, as it was being reported, was, Anaheim and Chicago were the only two places he would go to. And if that's the case, and I'm the Canucks, I'm not trading him. No way. I mean, I'm not going to trade him to either of those two teams. I mean, those are two teams that they're going to have to deal with all the time. And Chicago's an arch rival, and Anaheim's in division, right? So this is completely absurd. So I know they were talking to other teams. They were talking to Toronto. They were talking to Florida. I've heard they're talking to the Rangers. I don't know that, but I've heard it.
What I think is the main situation here is what Vancouver can get back from, say, Chicago or Anaheim. I mean, Anaheim's got a lot of young players, guys like Bonino, Silverberg. I mean, if they get two or three guys for Kessler, then that might be a deal that makes sense for them. With Chicago, unless it's Patrick Sharp, the next guy, you're not going to get Kane or Taves, obviously. The next guy is Brandon Saad, and they're not going to trade Brandon Saad. So where's there a deal to be made there? That's the problem.
There really isn't a fit in Anaheim either. Those players you're talking about aren't really worth what you're talking about.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, guys, Darren Dreger just tweets, trade senses are on high alert, starting to sound like Kessler deal is inching closer. Still working on destination, but next 24 hours perhaps.
You must be watching.
Well, there you go, Josh. He's talking to the same person you're talking to. We just talked about.
And LeBron tweets, about 8 to 10 teams have checked in with the Vanek camp. Sounds like about 4 of them are serious offers.
That seems surprising.
Oh,
I mean,
serious. Not they can't make offers. It says
Nope.
serious. No offers. It
the
doesn't
other
say
4 are jokes. The other 4 are just absolutely riots, laugh riots. But no,
Not,
no, I think
not surprising at all. I'm telling you.
I know you're a Vanek guy, Mike, but I'm telling you, this is like he's a very specific kind of player who's going to work on very specific sorts of situations. Those situations don't exist. Like I was talking to somebody who played with Vanek for most of his career yesterday, and he said that Vanek, he knows he's not going back to Montreal. He says he's probably not going back to Minnesota. He kind of laughs off the Minnesota thing, and he knows everybody thinks he's going to Minnesota. He says, yeah, but do you really want to be there? I mean, my family's from there, but that's not really what if they might not have the right fit. He needs a player to play with. Like if you're bringing in Vanek, you have to bring him in with the right other player. You have to bring him in with a person who he's going to play. Like remember his best days in Buffalo. He played with I think like Derek Roy and a Finneganov, right? Like that was a big line. I remember.
Right.
And and that those kind of players are quick passing players, a lot of tic-tac-toe type plays. That's the way Vanek plays.
Yep.
You put Vanek on a team like he was handling in Montreal, where he's playing with third and fourth liners. I don't know. That's yeah. I'm with you, Josh. By the way, what you just typed in, I could really agree. Go ahead, Mike.
The best center that Thomas Vanek played with was John Tavares in his entire career.
Yeah.
And up until.
And that worked.
And it worked. So yeah, but who's to say that a guy like Mikko Koivu doesn't?
He's not the same kind of player as
No, he's more of a two-way center. But I'm just saying. I mean, I don't see many teams out there that are going to pay Vanek anywhere close to what he's making now, which is around $7 million. He's probably going to get $5.5 to $6 million on a 4 or 5 year deal, and I still think that Minnesota is the team that's going to give that to him eventually.
Yeah, this sounds very much to me like an agent trying to stir up some pre-July 1st thing, because it's just and that's not I'm just speculating, but when you hear something like 8 teams. Well, first of all, it's very specific. There's 8 teams that have contacted, and there's 4 teams that made serious offers. Those are really specific things to say.
Well,
so when you say something that specific, it's coming from somebody who knows what the hell's going on.
Well,
8 have contacted for a serious one.
Yeah, that's not just you're not just pulling that out of thin air. That's not just saying that there's teams interested in Thomas Vanek. There's 8 teams interested. And there's 4 serious offers. That sounds like
no offers. Can't make offers.
Right. This is trying. Now remember, what is crazy about this year is that Tuesday is July 1st.
Yeah.
Let's put that into perspective for a second. It is right now Thursday. All right, and the draft hasn't even happened yet. All the craziness is going to happen when the draft is still because Mike, you were just talking to me today. It was funny when Mike got to my house. We, first, of course, I fed you a cheesesteak because it's Philadelphia and that's the law.
Aren't you nice?
Secondly, we were sitting there watching the soccer game. And that's why we pushed the podcast back, because we realized people were watching the game and they'd want to watch the game.
That's the reason why.
Yeah, that was the reason. Sorry, Josh. I know. But the next thing you said is, what are we going to do? What are we going to do in July? What was that?
It was a soccer game today?
Yeah, the U.S. moved through, baby. All right, so
what was Canada in the World Cup? Oh, never mind. Nope.
Yeah, where is Canada? They were there. They were in the World Cup in 1980 something. Anyway.
Yeah, excuse me.
So the next thing you said to me, Mike, was like, so what are we doing on July 1st? And my response was like, holy hell, It's like, yeah, we really should know by now what we're doing on July 1st, but it's Tuesday, So after this weekend, it's going to be 2 days away. But, and we'll do a podcast. Unfortunately, Josh, you're working that day in different. Maybe you can call us once in a while. I'll just stop in or say hi. But
by the way, I just got an angry tweet. Your source texted you. You mean you read Drager's tweet? Phony.
No, wait a second.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you.
What an idiot! Because you actually your source you wrote that before Drager's tweet. So let's just get that straight, okay?
And Deeren, you're an idiot. Thanks for watching.
There you go. No, it's not. I mean, you got to pay attention. I mean, it's all about timestamps. We've already determined that Josh stole his entire blog from me. All right, so let's get that straight.
I'm a Steeler. What
Because
can
I was 9 minutes before him. And
Yeah.
in that 9 minutes, he read my whole blog, wrote another
Exactly.
blog, and put it up.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
have no
I
doubt
have no
about that, man.
sources, guys. I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah, you're just because you're a rimmer doesn't mean you know anything.
I'm a nobody.
All right,
I know nothing.
Well,
I pull everything out of my ass.
One thing that's interesting about what has happened now and is going to happen in the future with the new CBA and with this 5-day negotiating period that Dave Boland's agent Anton Thun goes on the Toronto radio yesterday and says 6 teams are interested in Dave Boland. Two more I know are interested, but they haven't contacted us yet. How do you know they're interested?
Oh,
and
well, you know.
Today was day 1, so obviously you've had contact with those 2 teams before you were able to have contact with them. So you're sort of letting the cat out of the bag that you've already had contact with them.
Well,
Not that you got a great thing because we know that they do this.
This is just a new date they can lie about, because this okay, now we're talking officially, but anybody. I mean, it makes no sense, and they're, believe me, I can tell you flat out, I have been the third person in these things. Like, this is how teams used to contact each other before July 1st. I would get a call saying, from a player agent or whatever, do you think Montreal would be interested in so and so? And I would be like, I don't know. Why? Why you ask? Well, do you know anybody at Montreal? Find out maybe they're interested in so and so. And I'm like, okay, so I call Montreal. I'm like, yeah, do you think you'd be interested in so and so? Why? Who's asking? Well, no one, but just curious. And that's how these things have gone on for years. I mean, that's how this works. So I know. So yeah, to me that's people just have to sort of mellow out. It's only hockey, guys. It's only hockey. We're only talking about hockey. It's no big deal. We're gonna be fine. You're gonna be okay. Sun's gonna rise tomorrow. Vanek might have 40 teams interested in him by then, but still, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. I just think Vanek's very specific. I do believe Anaheim is interested in Vanek. I do think that is the case. I really think that, but I don't think he's their first thought. But I think that Vanek might have to wait for some dominoes to fall before he finds his home.
One name that is out there, and I know he's going to go UFA, that hasn't really been mentioned in any rumors, is Camilleri, and I'm really surprised because he's a pretty effective scorer, and he's sort of been just sort of under the radar, and I'm wondering why that is, because for guys like Vanek, after guys like Vanek and after guys like Stastny can either re-sign with their, well, we know Vanek's not going to re-sign with Montreal, but if Stastny re-signs with Colorado, I mean, Camilleri's up there in the 3rd, maybe 4th best forward in this free agent pool.
I would say he is, yeah. I think the general feeling on Camilleri is that they will get this done in Calgary, but that's not a given. Not a given right now at all, right? So I don't know. I mean that's why I think Camilleri's name. Now I did write about him just a couple days ago, yesterday actually. Jeez.
But I didn't read your blog.
I know. Since you don't read my blog, the one team that is interested in Camilleri that I was talking about yesterday was New Jersey, and I had heard this a couple times. New Jersey also is interested in a couple other players that I can't talk about yet, but we'll write about later. And Ottawa, also has some interest in Camilleri too. So I don't know. I think Camilleri will find a home. But I also think I still think he's gonna sign in Calgary at the end of the day. Josh, what do you have? It's almost 3:00. We got to get going here.
I've given you guys everything I have because there's no one else who's tweeted anything that I could steal.
Let me just in finishing the interesting. Oh God, gotta stop using interesting comments awesome. This morning regarding Toronto. The fact that they have not talked to free agent Jay McClement. They haven't talked to Paul Ranger. They're basically in an impasse with Boland. They are interested in talking a new deal with Mason Raymond. But it sounds like with most of their unrestricted guys, they're saying see you later. Nikolai Kuhlman is probably going to go elsewhere, and as usual, the most prominent rumor is him joining his buddy Evgeny Malkin in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and I think that that's something that we should really we're gonna want to keep a bigger eye on, because I think that Malkin and what's happening there right now in Pittsburgh that's fascinating to me is, like I said before, it's like Rutherford has come in as the cleanup guy and is going to totally take everything, and for over 2 years is going to just completely change the culture in that city, and then he's going to hand it off to somebody else. But he's like the in The Sopranos, like the cleanup guy, So he's like my E5. See, I've got my moving E5 with me.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So anyway, that's all the time we have for today. We're heading down to the city. Mike and I are gonna be down there. We're gonna be canoodling, or at least you will be, because I'm married.
Cavorting.
Yeah, later on. So enjoy the rest of the day, guys. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey, and we will talk tomorrow on draft day. 1 o'clock. We're gonna do a 1 o'clock show tomorrow for sure, and then that'll be the last we get to talk to you before the draft, unless we somehow spontaneously do a podcast later with Kevin Allen, which we might do, or possibly tomorrow night. So anything's possible. But so just stay tuned. Remember to follow us. Follow me at Eklund, at Josh Rimmer Hockey, at Mike in Buffalo, and you're gonna want to follow Josh, because he'll be able to tell you what everybody else has already said, and
Yep.
And, yeah, so there you go, because that's all we do around here. Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. Remember, without the buzz is just hockey. See you soon.